Welcome to Inverkeithing High School Maths Department. Today we're going to be looking at writing percentages as fractions. Now this lesson is very similar to the lesson that we did on writing fractions as percentages. It's just the other way around. However, before we get started, there's a couple of percentages that we should be able to state as fractions. And that's going to help us just with our general understanding of number and being able to find fractions and percentages of amounts. So the first percentage that we should be able to write as a fraction is 50%, which is a half. And most of us from primary school should be quite familiar with that. Another important percentage is 25%, which is a quarter, 20%, which is a fifth, and this one, which we might not be sure about, 33.3, and this little dot means it goes on forever and ever and ever, or recurring. 33.33% is equal to a third. Now this one's really important for us to remember because it's actually really hard for us to try and calculate or figure that out without just being able to state it. So thinking back to our lesson on writing fractions as percentages, we learned that percent means out of 100, remembering that our cent means 100, thinking about money. Well, we have to start then to write 25% as a fraction. Now this is assuming that you couldn't remember it. Well, 25% means 25 out of our 100. Now, that's fine, but it's not a quarter. Now, why it's not a quarter is because this fraction has not yet been simplified. So if we're not happy with simplifying fractions, we should go back and watch the simplifying fractions lesson. However, if we are, we're thinking about what number fits into both 25 and 100. Well, I know that 25 fits into both 25 and 100. It fits into 25 once, and it fits into 100 4 times. So 25% is equal to 25 over 100, which is equal to a quarter. Thinking about 10% then, again, 10 is in our numerator, out of our 100 as our denominator. So 10% being 10 out of our 100. What number goes into both 10 and 100? Well, again, we should be quite happy that 10 fits into both 10 and 100. How many 10s in 10? That's 1. And how many 10s in 100? Well, that's 10. So 10% is also known as 1/10. Moving on to something a little bit more tricky, we have 36%. The first step we should all be happy with now is writing it as 36 out of 100. And then we need to think about simplifying this fraction. Now, looking at both 36 and 100, I know that they are both even numbers. So when I'm looking at my 36 and 100, I know that both of them can be divided by 2. So if I divide them both by 2, I have 18 out of 50. Looking at 18 over 50, well, they're both even numbers again, which is going to give me my 9 over my 25. Looking at the numbers 9 and 25, is there any number that goes into both 9 and 25? Well, 2 doesn't go into it because 9 is odd. 3 goes into 9, but it doesn't go into our 25. And we can continue up there, checking that there's no other number that fits into 9 and 25, but that is it in its simplest form. So 36% is equal to 36 out of 100, or 9 out of 25, or 18 out of 50. They're all equivalent. However, if you were asked to write 36% as a fraction, it would probably want it in its lowest form, or its simplest form, which is our 9 out of our 25. Looking at our 52%, the first step would be familiar. We're going to write 52 out of our 100. Now, we could do the same system as I've used above, dividing each of them by 2. However, I'm just going to touch on our simplifying fractions lesson, where we used our highest common factor to simplify the fraction. You can see that I've already written out my factors of 52 and my factors of 100. The next step I need to do is I need to figure out which is the highest factor. Well, you can see that 1 and 2 are common to both, that 4 is common to both, there's no 13 in there, there's no 26, and there's no 52. So looking at using our highest common factor method, we're going to take 52 and we're going to divide that by 4, and we're going to do our 100 and divide that by 4. 52 divided by 4 then is our 13. And our 100 divided by 4 is our 25. So 52% is also the same as 13 out of 25 or 52 out of 100. Remembering that when we are asked to write percentages as fractions, we want to try and do that in its simplest form. So if we're not comfortable with simplifying our fractions, we need to make sure that we go back and revise that topic. And you can either use the halving method if it works, or using our highest common factor method, trying to figure out which number is the biggest that divides both the numerator and the denominator.